Hey guys, today I've played a chess game that made my heart rate go up and down in crazy intervals because I at some point was winning, at some point I was losing. It was a crazy roller coaster ride. I was playing against the #1 seeded player in the tournament I'm currently playing, Lanta Open in Thailand. I was playing the black pieces. My opponent's name is Peter Falk. He is around 2100 rated ELO player, and he's very experienced. I've checked his games. While preparing, he played since the 90s, and he has some wins over grandmasters. He's a very strong player. At his peak, his rating reached 2300. And now he's the rating favorite in this tournament. Let's see how I fared against him. I unleashed some prep, some home-cooked prep that I'm quite proud of, inspired by a game played by Wesley So. So let's dive into this. Let's jump into the game. So he decided to go e4, and I chose my beloved French defense. Check out my videos where I explain how to play it. And this is what I expected him to play. So this bishop d3 is a move he made in many games over the course of his years. So I was prepared. I was prepared for this variation. This is all theory. And here there are many ways to play for black. Some take this pawn, which is perfectly fine, but it's better to take it with the knight. But you might think it's better to take it with this knight. I agree, but if you go knight d7, e5 becomes unpleasant. You have to go back, and this is not a happy decision. So the best move here is a5. I've checked this with the computer. Castles, and now knight a6. The idea is that without a5, white could have taken and made me take with a pawn, damaging my structure. But here I'll take with the rook on a6. This is the idea. So e5, knight d7, and c4. Up to this moment, my opponent is playing the best moves according to Stockfish, but he's out of his prep. He started thinking around this point, and c4 is a great move. It asks some questions to my pawn center, tries to destroy it, but I was prepared. I went knight d to take c5. Of course, I could have taken with this knight as well, but you will see why I chose this continuation. This is an interesting idea that I've seen employed by Wesley So. So the bishop drops back, and now d4. This is similar to some positions in the Rue Lopez, in the Spanish opening, where black advances this d pawn. Sometimes it dies in the process, and you will see what will happen to it in this game. I'm ready to sacrifice it. The idea behind this advance is the fact that look at the white pieces. They are all stuck on the back rank and not developed enough, and the computer says this is all around equal. So white goes rook d1, logical move, and now I go d3. At this point, I was out of my prep, but I remembered the ideas that I've seen both in the Wesley So game and using the computer. So I remembered some clever maneuver that I've seen Stockfish recommend, and I did just what it recommended, and it was really nice seeing the seeing the emotions on the face of my opponent. Like, what's going on? So my opponent was wondering why is he just giving me this pawn, because I will take it definitely. There will be too many pieces attacking it. It's just a free pawn, isn't it? But here I unleash b6, knight e1, and rook a7. That was the Stockfish idea. It was I've seen it in a similar position, different move order, I think, but basically it works here as well. So the idea is to rotate the rook to the d file and put pressure here. So that's what I did. I go rook d7, and if white takes, I take back with another knight, and I'm still putting pressure. This knight cannot move because the rook will fall prey to my pieces. This battery is very powerful. So I've sacrificed a pawn for some activity, and look at this part of the board. These poor white pieces, they cannot move almost. So I really enjoy my position here. The bishop will activate via this diagonal, and I have more than enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn. So he goes knight f4, I go knight b4, I in this square, I want to go here and maybe here and put pressure over there and make him give up one of his bishops, the b1 bishop, the only active square, the only active bishop that he has, because it is eyeing my king. So rook e1, I go knight d3, and he goes queen h3, which is a clever move. Of course, if I take, I will get checkmated because this bishop, as I said, looks at my king side. Here I spent some time thinking about what I should do. So basically, there are two logical moves here, either g6 or h6. h6 looks better because at the end of the variation, white will have to give up this bishop for my knight. And this bishop, dark squared bishop, will not be able to join in via this square, and I will not have holes in my position. As if you compare it to g6, then this square becomes available for the bishop. There are some holes, dark squared holes in my position, which is not good. But I spent like 15 minutes thinking about various sacrifices that could happen on this h6 square. So I was calculating this, and here I was calculating bishop takes h6. But I concluded that it does not work. Even though it looks enticing. So bishop takes e1 actually is better for white because white goes queen g4. But if I take here, I have an advantage and there is no checkmate, because if white, for example, takes here, I can take the rook. And if white goes, for example, knight g5, threatening this, I can take here. And this becomes crazy really fast, but basically I activate my pieces, for example, like this. I was calculating such variations. My head was spinning, but I decided that I'm good here, and the computer agrees. So my opponent did not give up the bishop like that, but a similar variation occurred. He went in this position knight f3, because otherwise I would have taken the knight. I go bishop b4, attacking the rook, and the rook has to move to f1, to a passive square, because otherwise I would have, for example, if the rook chose this square, for example, I'd go here, and this is over because I win a piece on e1. So rook f1 is not a happy choice, but this is the choice that my opponent had to make. And here I was feeling really confident. I spent quite some time, but I still had some time left. But I was feeling that I'm outplaying him. And this is a great feeling, like you are in control. I was in control in this game up until some moment. So here I went bishop b7. Bishop e3 tries to block my rook. But here I find another good move. The computer really likes it. Bishop c5. I'm trying to exchange this bishop because this is the only piece that protects or blocks rather this file, and I want to be really aggressive with this bishop opposing this knight. My bishop is much better than this knight. It doesn't matter that white has an extra pawn. So here white had several options. He chose to give up a pawn here. So I took the pawn, and I'm already much better. The computer says it's -1. My bishop is a monster. It's very powerful. And I've already equalized material, and I will definitely win one more pawn sooner or later. So here I attacked the queen using the fact that my bishop protects it, the rook. Here I attacked this pawn. Everything that I do is gaining a tempo. So I'm doing everything winning time, attacking pieces or pawns of my opponent. Here I give a check, also gaining some time. And here I go rook e3. And now I am ready to take here and then take here. So this is unstoppable, this threat. The opponent goes queen d2. I take, and take. And I merge up a pawn with the superior pawn structures. Those pawns are horrible. The king is really weak here. So I was feeling really confident. I was feeling that I'm going to probably try to win this game. There's still much work to be done, but still. Okay, so he tries to go for some counterplay, rook d1. The only open file belongs to white in this position, but it's not nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. Queen f6 attacks this pawn and also overprotects this square. So if the queen moves, for example, here, I have rook d8, but he doesn't want to give me this file. And here I go rook c8. The idea is rook c5, rook g5, and attacking the enemy king. The king is really weak. So here my opponent decided, you know what, I'm going to exchange the queens. And here I entered some deep thought again, because on the other hand, my king is much safer than his king. On the other hand, I had like 10 minutes left on my clock, and I was worried. I was calculating this variation, queen g6 check. He cannot block because otherwise I will have a fork, queen c2, forking the king and the rook. So he has to go king f2. And here I was thinking maybe rook c5. Maybe rook c5. He has rook g1, attacking down here, but I have queen c2 check. And king e3, and here I didn't find, well, I thought I have something like g6 or g5 because this is mate threatened. But I didn't find a win here, and I was afraid that I'm miscalculating something. I was seeing ghosts, as chess players tend to say. I really didn't want to give my opponent any counterplay. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to trade the queens because I'm up a pawn, and this endgame, this rook endgame, should be winning for black. Well, rook endgames are notoriously drawish. Even if you are up material, it is often a draw, even if you are up a pawn. But here, I evaluated this endgame as winning. Was I correct? I don't know. The computer on low depth says it's minus 0.54. On higher depth, maybe it finds the win, but I really don't know. But this is where it got really crazy. So I went rook c6. He went rook d7. He's trying to go for activity, and this is the most important thing that you can learn from this game. In endgames, piece activity is paramount, tantamount. I don't know, any fancy word. So you have to be active. You have to, even at the cost of pawns, you have to be active. Otherwise, you will lose or you will not win a winning endgame. So here I go g6, trying to activate my king. He goes f4, and here I think, wait a second, I can have connected passed pawns, g5. So if he takes, I take, and these pawns start marching down the board, and it's very scary. So he doesn't take, he goes king f3, I go king g7, he goes h4, trying to stop me from taking this pawn, but I still take this pawn. And these two pawns are called the connected passed pawns because nothing is opposing them. No other pawns stand in their way and can prevent their advancement. But still, the computer says it's not as easy because piece activity. Look at this rook. Look at this rook. This rook is much more powerful. This king is centralized. It's unclear how to win this position, but I tried my best. I went king f6. Here I checked him. And apparently I've squandered the win already. The computer says it's equal. I didn't know that at the time. I was dead sure that I'm winning because I had a plan of going here and maybe even sacrificing this pawn and advancing this pawn, and it will be deadly for white. But he tries to not give me any chance to do that. But I still go rook e6. He goes a3. I go king d6. He goes rook h7. And here, apparently, I had to do this. Here I could have won like this. e4, he has rook g7, e3, rook g1, e2. I was calculating all this, but I had like 5 minutes. So I calculated up until that moment, and I didn't think that I'm winning here. Turns out I'm winning here. Well, I should have calculated better. Now, it becomes clear. So I have the rook e3 move, and I win some material over there. So b4, rook takes. Interesting. I didn't see it at the time. And if they take, I take with a check. Very, very interesting. So white has to go c5 check here. bc, king takes, rook d3, and the king is cut off. So I just advance this pawn. Okay, this is winning, but this is not easy to see with five minutes. All this long variation. I was thinking about going f5. I should have, but I didn't know if it's winning or not. So I decided to be more cautious. I went king e7, and I went f6. The idea is if white takes, I have f5, winning the rook, so white cannot take. And otherwise, I want to go here, and start advancing the pawns. So that's exactly what I did. He went h5, I went here. He gave me a check. I gave up this f6 pawn because I thought it should be winning. The computer says it's dead equal. I'm not going to argue with the computer. I was pretty sure I should have the win somewhere here. So I check white. If white takes here, it's not a good decision because the king is cut off, and the computer still says it's equal, but it would be unpleasant. So he goes king f7, wanting to take this pawn with check. Check, and I go for broke. I'm like, okay, you can take this pawn, but my pawn will probably queen. I was sure that I should have the win somewhere, but not so fast. So check, I go here. I want also to check him maybe in some variations and make him go into the corner. So he takes another pawn. Now he is up 2 pawns, but my pawn is very menacing. I go e3, and now I'm threatening e2 and e1 queen. But he has some checks. The computer screams that it's equal. And here I realized that probably I'm not going to win this game. Probably I squandered my advantage. But let's try. Anyway, I go up, king e5. Here he wants to check me over here. So if I go e2, I will just lose this pawn due to this shish kebab. So I go check and king d4. And this is a mistake. Apparently, white is already better. White checks me, goes rook e8, and here I go king d3 and h6. And already, well, it's around equal, but already black could lose this easily. I check him, I try to attack his pawn, and I go here, and I'm losing now. Mind you, we both had like 2 or 3 minutes at this point. I had like 30 seconds, he had 3 minutes, I think, at this point. I didn't think that this is losing already, but this is because of c5, the move that he finds. And this pawn is unstoppable. If I try to stop this pawn, then this pawn will queen. And he can give up the rook for this pawn, and this is winning. At this point, I realized I'm in deep trouble, but I tried to find some counter chances. I tried checking him, and e2. I need to do something at least. So if he goes h7, for example, I can check him, and this will immediately be closer than to a draw. Although you see the evaluation bar is jumping up and down, the computer has not decided here whether it's good or not. But still, I'm checking him, and I'm going e2, and here he did something unexpected for me. I think c6 is just an easy win here. I cannot stop both pawns. I can go king here and queen, but he will queen this pawn, and I don't know why he did what he did, but he took the pawn. Maybe he thought that this is also winning. Rook takes e2, but you will see that this is not, because I take with the rook, he goes h7, and I check him, and I go here. And turns out he cannot find the win here. He doesn't have the win. If he goes here, I check him. If he goes here, well, I can, for example, go here. Actually, I can go even here, I think. Yeah, because b4, I can just go here. If he goes here, I check him again. If he goes here, I attack this pawn, and he cannot do anything. And if he goes here, I'm just fast enough to intercept all his pawns, and this will be a draw. But the game ended in a different way. He went h7, I checked him, check, and this was a threefold repetition. So I had a winning position, then I spoiled the win, but at the end I escaped with a draw. Not the worst results, not the worst result against the number one seeded opponent. But still, it's a double-edged feeling that I have now. Anyway, thank you for watching. Tomorrow I'm playing round 3. I will try to not squander my opportunities, and I will try to prepare in a good way. Bye-bye.